What's going on, guys? My name is Johnny Bannon and I'm your CCNA instructor for this CCNA video series. And in this video, this is kind of going to be a bonus video going over how we can deploy a wireless LAN controller in an EVE-NG topology. So as I was thinking, if you're watching these videos in order, I kept saying we're going to do a lab in EVE-NG, and the whole purpose of this series is to take someone from essentially zero to hero for like a junior network admin role or network admin role, get their CCNA, become familiar with real-world equipment, real-world technologies, which is why I've been using EVE-NG. And I realized that as I'm teaching, I need to put myself back in the student's shoes. The configuration and the complexity that involves getting a wireless LAN controller up and running in EVE-NG and working completely with like your home network or your lab network requires a lot of hardware that but someone initially getting into the field may not have. And that is, I have a server running ESXi that I deployed myself. I have a Catalyst 9300 Cisco switch that's for my home network and my lab network, kind of. And I have a bunch of different VLANs on there. I had to do some like V switching and network bridging. And then there's just complexities in it, right, that may not be suitable for the CCNA course. So what we're going to do here, and I thought I'd never say it, but I'm going to use Packet Tracer for our official wireless LAN lab. I know I hate it. Packet Tracer I'll give my personal opinion. I don't like it. It's a simulation. It's an application that simulates how network devices should behave, but it's not real equipment. Everything in EVE-NG or GNS3 is emulated based off a real iOS or a real network device that you can download from Cisco's website and then put into your EVE-NG topology. So it's real. The only thing missing is you actually racking it up in a comms closet or data center. You plugging in the cable. And Packet Tracer has so many issues, and as I was determining, I was like, okay, but what can the student get the most out of? It will be running Packet Tracer for our wireless lab. So our official wireless lab is going to be kind of a little bit long because I'm going to go over kind of a little brief overview of Packet Tracer, but I'm going to link other instructions on how to completely set up Packet Tracer if you want to know the ins and outs, because that's not what I'm here for. Packet Tracer just allows us to create a lab that can get you familiar with the vWLC without all the additional complexities. So what I want to do here is just go over kind of this, to me, it's kind of like a bonus video, right, of how we can get a virtual wireless LAN controller into EVE-NG. So as you look at our topology here, and if you've been watching my series, you should be very used to EVE-NG. You're going to see here that I have that wireless LAN controller connected to a switch. I got this tiny Linux box here that can allow me to GUI from within EVE-NG, but I also have it connected out via this network bridge. And this is kind of we're gonna go over how an application EVE-NG running in a VM on a type 1 hypervisor connected out to my switch can actually get access to a physical access point. Because if we come to the actual vWLC GUI here that's literally running right now in EVE-NG, you can actually see an access point's connected. And that access point's physically connected to my switch. And that switch is connected to my server, which is running ESXi, which is hosting an EVE-NG VM, which has a virtual wireless LAN controller emulated in that application, reaching out to my local area network. Whew, right? And again, for CCNA, you may be like, yeah, man, I don't even know the words you just said. Because this isn't a virtualization course. This is a CCNA course. So, but pretty cool as you can see here. Like, check it out. This wireless LAN controller running in EVE-NG is fully operational. And I can actually run my home network like this. Very inefficient, do not recommend, but it's possible. I have a real 3800 series access point connected via CapWAP in lightweight mode to this virtual wireless LAN controller. Big shout out, when I did this about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I wanted to watch videos on this, maybe I forgot something, Knox Hutchison does a great video on this exact setup. I can't remember the ins and outs. I remember I watched a video maybe a couple of years ago, and I remember him just explaining and breaking it down very well. And I'm going to try to emulate that. So thanks, Knox. You're a true hero. So, okay. So first, I kind of want to go over the architecture and what I have running in my environment. So I'm going to come back to Canva here. I'm going to go over to our wireless network designs. And I'm going to go over with you guys like essentially virtualization right now. So I'm going to share with you what I have running in my home and how I get this working. Present this. Okay, so let's break this down Barney style. Let's try to. So what I have in my home network is I literally have this data center rack or a rack. I have my home router up here, and then I have that 9300 switch. And then down here, I have a Dell PowerEdge 920. It's a 4U. It's pretty beefy. And this is running ESXi. So that is a Type 1 hypervisor. And within that Type 1 hypervisor, I am running VMs. Those VMs can reach out to like my home network up here because the server is physically connected through something called a vNIC. So the virtual machine will have something called a vNIC that reaches out to what's called a vSwitch, which is software, that is then bridged out to the physical NIC here, connecting off to my switch. So what I have here, if you look at this diagram, is I have the EVE-NG virtual machine. So this is literally a Linux machine. This is a Linux computer running the EVE-NG software. It is connected to a virtual NIC. So this virtual machine, virtual computer, thinks it has a real NIC. We call it a vNIC, right? That's connected to my VLAN 1 network or my home network. So I'm just running the basic VLAN 1, right? This vNIC is then connected to what's called a vSwitch, which is a software switch running in ESXi. And then that software switch has a port connected to a physical NIC. Okay? And this is going to be trunked out, and then these are also trunked out. However, if we wanted to, we could also add more virtual NICs here connected to the virtual switch under like VLAN 20, and we could have this virtual machine connected to another NIC sitting on the backside of my server connected to another port here running in VLAN 20. Just an example. But essentially, this is what I have going on here. So in my EVE-NG virtual machine, I have that virtual wireless LAN controller connected to what's called a cloud management device, which is essentially gives the EVE-NG topology access to this vNIC here. Okay? So that's how my virtual wireless LAN controller is able to reach out, because I am getting access to this vNIC through this cloud management appliance in my actual EVE-NG topology. And then, since I made this trunk port here to my actual ESXi server, I can now put these access points on a different VLAN 69. I can put users on VLAN 420 here, and still they, as you can see, make that CAP-WAP connection all the way back to this virtual wireless LAN controller sitting in EVE-NG. So let's kind of go into the ESXi and look at this a little bit deeper. So I'm going to give you into our ESXi server. Let's just need to go to the login screen. Okay. So again, this is a physical server that I have running a Type 1 hypervisor. So we're going to log in here. All right. Then check it out. So this is my EVE-NG machine running. If I come down here, that's that vNIC I was talking about. And if we click edit up here, we can see that it's connected to what's called my VM network, which is essentially just VLAN 1 getting connected out to the physical NIC on the server, connecting to the switch. And then that switch has a trunk port at the end. So if we come down here to networking though, so here's where everything is set up. So this port group here, VM network, as you can see, this VM network is a port on our vSwitch here. And you can see all the virtual machines that are connected to the VM network port group, which again, the VM network port group is just left at VLAN ID 0. So it's just running off the native VLAN, right? Which is my 192.168.1 network, just my regular home network. So it's running off that network. And you can see this port group through this V switch is connected to my one physical adapter. This is the actual interface that's connected off to my switch up here, which is a trunk port at the switch. So we come back to networking. See, we have one virtual switch, that's vSwitch 0. You can see that it has two different port groups. So it has the management network, which again is just actually the port group needed to access the E6i GUI, I guess. Yeah, E6i GUI. But then this VM network is the port group that's also used to access the same network, but this is going to be for our actual VM. So the VMs have this VNIC assigned to it, the VM network VNIC. And then if we actually look at the physical NIC here, this is the actual physical NIC or interface that's connected to the physical switch. So this is the actual server on the back of it. This is like Ethernet 1 or port 1, right? You can see all the different subnets that's discovered on it because it is trunked, right? So since we're trunking it, it can actually see all the different subnets. So pretty cool, right? So an EVNG now, you see this cloud right here. If I come here to network and I type in management cloud, this gives my EVNG topology access to this actual this real NIC right here. And then this real NIC is connected to this vSwitch. And this vSwitch has all these different VM groups on it, port groups, and these port groups are assigned to different VLANs. And then we also have to do this, set the promiscuous mode to accept, so we can actually get some like port forwarding in there and allowing this trunked connection all the way into EVNG. So that's how this wireless LAN controller gets access. And if, let's say, I wanted to add another physical adapter onto this vSwitch and a new port group that was like, let's say, VLAN 40, I could do that. And then in the EVNG topology, Cloud 1 would be associated with physical NIC 1. So instead of being connected to physical NIC 0, it'd be connected to physical NIC 1, which could be, if we wanted to, connected on this vSwitch to a different port group altogether that maybe would be under VLAN 40. And then we'd have to assign this port group to the EVNG VM as well. And now that EVNG VM could possibly have two pathways out. So if we come back here to the wireless diagram now, so the actual physical switch that I have in my network, this is the configuration that I have. I set up these access ports, and then of course we set up SVIs for 69 and 420. And then of course we did DHCP pools as well. Oh, DHCP pools as well with that option 43 IP address. And that's how these access points connect back all the way to the virtual vWLC in EVNG. Now, another question you may have is, how do we get that virtual wireless LAN controller installed in the EVNG? Where do I get the software? Well, luckily, you can type in install vWLC Cisco, and it'll bring you to, actually, let's type in download Cisco vWLC. And it'll actually let you download. Again, you have to be like a partner, Cisco partner, to download this stuff. But this can also honestly just be deployed as an actual VM here. You could have just skipped the whole EVNG and just deploy that virtual wireless LAN controller as a VM and then There you go. That would also work as well. If you don't have access to this, I'm sure there may be creative ways you can figure out how to get them, but we would never ever recommend installing unlicensed or software not from Cisco. You shouldn't do that. That's illegal. But if you need to figure out a way to install this, just search the internet. Maybe you can become a Cisco partner and actually be able to download Cisco equipment and gear. Alternatively, Packet Tracer is free. So you can download Packet Tracer, and that's going to be in our actual lab. This is just kind of like my bonus. And you can download Packet Tracer for free and sign up for the Cisco Network Academy for free. And they have some free training there as well. But all right. So hopefully that didn't just confuse, you completely. That's why I'm going to label this a bonus video of how to get a virtual wireless LAN controller working in EVE-NG. And honestly, I'm missing a big part, which is I'm not showing you how to install the actual wireless LAN controller in EVE-NG. If you go to EVE-NG's website and documentation, they'll have that in there. Your biggest hurdle is just actually getting the actual virtual wireless LAN controller software. Once you have that, then it's pretty easy to install into EVE-NG. Really nothing too crazy. Let's see, not installation. Yeah, there we go. So we can come down here. And then this shows you how to do it once you actually have that actual ISO. But okay, awesome. Again, I hope that didn't confuse anyone too much. I know when I was getting this set up, it took me a little bit, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour. But again, I'm putting myself in the student's shoes. Our next video is going to be Packet Tracer. And I hate Packet Tracer, but we'll let it ride. It is good just for CCNA to get some wireless training in. So I want to thank you for viewing. And again, if you, your unit, or your organization need any live virtual training or boot camps, please feel free to hit that link in the description below to go to our website. We do Army CA funding, Air Force Cool, Navy Cool, and we would love to come to your unit organization personally and get you and your team certified. So thank you.